Hello guys, it's final time for the max exploits of the pool. Today I have something really crazy for you. We're gonna see how the pool play in position as a tributor. Um, I I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised that people on mid stakes play like this. You will have now really good idea what are they doing, and I'm gonna tell you how you can exploit the facts that they play the way they are playing. Okay, so let's go. First, we are into the imposition tributor of the breakthrough HUD, where we have all of the pool of the mid stakes together, and now we will see their strategy. Pool c-bets generally in position as a tributor, so this is situation middle position versus UTG, cutoff versus early position, bottom versus earlier middle, button versus cutoff. Here we have the ranges, which looks like around from 7 to 11%. We see how much they fall to 4 bet, 40% folding, around 16, 17 showing. We see again that when it's ISO happening, the 3-bet ranges are basically cut down roughly at the half. So whenever you are facing a 3-bet and you did ISO, just remember the day range will be basically twice stronger than normal ranges. Okay, now let's go to see what is actually going on. We see that the CBET in position is 76%. That's crazy high. Now, when we go deeper into it, we're gonna see that on the Ace Low Rainbow, Ace Low Connected, Ace Broadway X Rainbow, basically they CBET 75% plus, and in many situations it's gonna be bet of the range. If you see like ace low rainbow, we're gonna see a lot of king queen, king jack, trash hands, low pair, middle pairs, hands like jacks, hands like kings on ace 5 9, hands like queens on ace 7 4, jacks on ace 9 10, queens again on ace 5 8. Uh, so we actually see that the pool is betting everything. Middle pair, weak top pairs, complete trash, hands like king jack hands. So we definitely see something that is crazy because you shouldn't be playing like that. Um, this is their fault call and raise, so they actually fall to raise immediately around 50% on these boards, which is high, and their next action is bet around 32% after c-betting the flop on the ace xx. Okay, now what I want to see is what is Pi doing. Um, so I have prepared a simulation in Pio just to see, and just remember this is button versus cutoff, GTO ranges, and we have the board of ace 5 6, button versus cutoff. We have the GTO ranges from 2.5 to 7.5, and out of position checks, and in position c bets around 33%. In position checks 40% of ace king, prefers checking with the ace queen, prefers checking with the ace jack, is betting hand like a king queen, king jack around half of the time. It's actually never betting kings, queens, and jacks or tens, rarely nines and eights. But the pool is betting all of these hands. He's betting all of the ace x hands, or most of them, all of the ace king, ace queen, ace jack hands. So let's see now what is happening when the imposition is playing GTO and betting uh, 1/3. We see that our check raise frequency is crazy high. So we check raise 22%. Now think what would we do against the range bet on the a6-5. I will tell you what would we do. We wouldn't have a call range at all. So we would only check raise or fold, which is insane strategy and nobody's using it. But against the pool of mid stakes, you should be using it because they are playing this spot ultra bad. We see that we are basically check raising fives and sixes. We are bluffing with pocket fours, with spades and pocket threes. We are turning 4, 5, 6, 7 into bluff. Our value range is some of the ace kings, but generally our value range is sets and two pairs basically. And we do a lot of like these combo draws or our open enders, some of our gut shots are in the check raise. Basically, a lot of them are in the check raising range. So this is against the GTO strategy. Against the strategy that the pool is using, we would be check raising all the sets, ace queen, ace king, all of the ace x hands. We'd be basically check raising all of it and folding, and that would be max exploit strategy against the pool. And yep, let's actually put the node lock here and see what would we do if the pool, just let me put here, if the pool is actually betting whole range. I'll just try to quickly make that happen. We're gonna just put that they betting whole range, and we will see what the max XP strategy will be. When is that finished? I'm gonna get back into it. Just for now, let's move a little forward. So generally, we see that the CBET frequency is gonna be really low on the ace low rainbow boards, um, ace low connected boards. It's gonna be low around 30 to 40%, 45 in some better ace xx boards like ace disconnected ones, but definitely not betting range on it. And people are doing that. And what I want to also see is how they play these boards, low drawy boards, and we see they're exhibiting 71%. So they don't care. Ace queen, ace jack on the deuce 4-7, ace queen on the 3-9-8. Ace king on the 4-5-4, which is actually okay on that board. Ace jack on the deuce 3-4, two tone, etc. So they are betting most of the range on these boards that I will show you how the GTO plays them. I think it's pi is finished now, so just let's see the max exploit strategy. Let me see. Okay, I just put I didn't put 100%. I put now 64% just to see because there is two sizes, so I didn't put it. But generally, you will get the idea. If we just move it from uh, 37 to 64, we get the check raising range of 33%. So just imagine what would happen if we put it range. Actually, I'm just gonna put it range. Um, because we have two. I just put it for one size. I'm gonna do it again. We have the time, guys, so we will do it. We're gonna put the range. It's gonna be tricky with two sizes because I need to put 0 here. Okay. So I put everything in here. Okay. I'm gonna put 0 in this size. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, now we put everything here, set strategy, and we'll just resolve it again. Okay, now let's get back into this board. So now we're on the board like low drawy and low dry board. So between 2 and a 9, um, they're betting 85%. So basically bet range on dry boards, deuce through 9, deuce through 9 drawy. Uh, so it's gonna be a lot of boards like 5-4-6, like deuce 3-4, like we saw, and they're betting 71%, which is pretty much for what I also see how they play. And when you think about it, that I'm going to show you how the GTO plays that. And when you see how the pool plays it, you want to max exploit that pool. You want to punish them the biggest possible way you can punish them. I apologize, it's the wrong board. This is the one. And okay, we have now that they bet range. So we're going to put here, and Pi will raise 40%. Basically, we are going to rarely call. Some of our calls are like the weakest ace highs, like ace 3, ace 4. Um, Protecting with some ace checks or ace queen. But to simplify strategy against these type of players, just max exploit them, just have a check raising range and folding range, and that's enough. You will punish them the most by that strategy. Some hands like nines, tens are in awkward spot when you check raise them, so I could actually fold them. You can actually fold them and check raise the hands like sevens, eights, and fold like nines and tens, and just check raise like all the ace high hands, ace x hands. So when you see like that we're check raising, he's gonna be needing to call a bunch of hands. Like we see, like he needs to call now all of these under pairs that bet. So our strategy is immediately really aggressive on the flop, and on the turn we are going into the lower size just so we can then bet still a lot of these hands because his range needs to defend a lot of his under pair hands and all of these hands that he's betting. So we are going into like a protection mode with all of these hands. And generally that will be really great response for their strategy. And yep, we're gonna maximally punish the things that they are doing, which are super wrong in the GTA sense of words. Uh, let's now go to the other thing that I was saying about. Let's now go into the board like 467, the board that is low connected, the board that they are betting around 70 something percent in position. Let's see how the GTA plays. And GTA basically checks range. So GTA check range, our pool is betting range. So what is going on? The pool is betting range, GT is checking range. And let's now just go into the node lock and see what will, just think about it, like almost checking range. So he's betting 1.8% of hands. And with that 1.8% of hands, we are check raising 23% of hands. That's like crazy. It's super crazy. And now we will put in the node lock that they are actually betting 70%. Let's put, okay, we're gonna put here around 70%. We would need, we'll just simplify it, we'll put bet range. Um, we'll put bet range. It's to just, and we will be able to conclude from there, because if I bet like 70 to 80%, I need to manually choose which hands they will bet, and this is more simplified, and we'll just see like extreme examples, um, just to see like what would be a do. um, it's pretty intuitive that if he's check raising 20% on 1.5% of c-bet, he will basically react the same as on 70% c-bet or 100% c-bet. His reaction will be the same. He's gonna check raise everything basically. That is what I expect. We're gonna see if that's the case, and you will see what you need to do against this pool. We just put it that the pool is betting all his range, and the Pio is folding 5.2% of his range. He still has some calls, but to simplify it, we just use the strategy of check raising and folding, and you are maximally exploiting the pool because this is the max exploit strategy you can play against them. Really, really crazy. Um, Now that we have for sure confirmation of their strategy, this is how our strategy should look like. So just think about it next time when you will playing your pool, and just remember when you see if the pool on mistake is playing like that, I'm sure your pool is playing If you're playing the lower stake, your pools will be play even worse than that strategy. So this will be also super highly effective against your pool also. Um, Definitely we need to punish this, because when I see, and I just see it a lot, I just see no like these boards are check range in position and they just bet a lot of on it. I just like heavily go into the check raise mode. Okay, now let's get back into the range research. um so definitely they bet range in many situations. They shouldn't be betting range. Our primary way of punishing them is to increase heavily our check raising frequency. Double barrel 53%. We generally see that their double barrel, most board is balanced except on this like lower and drawy boards. They will actually, because of their strategy, they will be actually still continuing. You see like three in a row, 10 high, which is like 7, 8, 9. They're gonna 3, 4, 5. All of this like lower boards, they still gonna bluff. Let's see, like on these carry cards. So for example, they bet ace king on the 4, 3, 5, which shouldn't be betting ace king or any hand basically on this board, but they bet, and people play poorly, they call, and suddenly on the jack they just know that the jack, they will have more jack x hands. They use these scary cards like a king here with their bluffs, so they bluff these like lower boards. But if we play correct strategy, we will not allow them to get there. We will not allow them to put pressure on us because their strategy is so weak and transparent. Generally, from what we see on the static board, the turn doesn't change anything. There are bluffs, but mostly like it's a top pair plus some, well, like equity, like gut shot, like a draw, like a flush draw. We see some trash, around 9% of trash or blocker plays, but generally they're double barrel or across all of the static boards like ace xx, king xx, queen xx. It's actually around 25%, and it's mostly like equity driven. We see here that they're just bluffing like 14% is like ace high or blocker, and everything else is like a draw or some kind of equity. And we come to the triple barrels, and we actually see that their triple barrel on this like ace xx, ace broadway x, like almost no bluffs at all. Here we see some bluffs, but it was actually only one hand in this situation, where is this ace low rainbow on the like all of this, where it's actually a lot wider sample. We see that they're just not bluffing. You see like here where the sample is a little higher, we see that generally they're just triple barreling top pair plus, and like 10% is bluff, 9 through 10% in these boards are going to be bluff, and also on the king exec it's like 29%, little more, but generally from what we see like queen xx, jack xx, it's going to be around, like if we put all the samples around 20 percent maximally, it's going to be like a bluffing on the rivers, and the bluffing actually goes higher in these boards, lower like 10xx or lower, jack xx, where we get on the river, we get like a scary card like a king. I'm gonna just show you here, like ace 10, the river is king, and he just jams. So on these scary cards, we see the triple barrel bluffs, but on these boards where the river can't just change the structure that much, they are not bluffing that much, and the situation is same on like these lower boards. They're gonna bluff mostly on these like scary cards, which they hit like again like a king when it hits river, they use this bluff. So mostly bluffing is happening on these lower boards, and we, if we played correct strategy, we could have just um we it we would stop that from happening basically. Just let's see again in Pio for just to see what will happen. Okay, there basically we saw, I think, 78%. Okay, that's it. Check raising 17%. Still in my head, it's crazy. Max XP strategy against these guys to check raise 78%, guys. Other continuing range, basically, it's easiest just to check raise because their strategy is so weak. Uh, from what we see, like they're triple barreling on this static board where turn and river can't change that much, like ace xx, queen xx, and king xx. It's lower, and on these lower boards where we get basically they will bluffing mostly on the like scary runouts for the like for we see like four of the straight coming and like these scary cards king queen ace on the river. This is the spots where they bluff, but mostly they are not that bluffing with the triple barrels. Okay, now let's see one cool thing. They see bet 76%, it's bunch. Let's see then what is their checking range looks like. They check behind 24%, and from what is really weird is that actually they're checking behind range on the ace low rainbow hands or ace low connected is actually they know to check these top pairs sometimes. That actually means that they are heavily over bluffing these ace xx boards because if we just put the bet range in pile like we did put, we will massively check raise them. We can just go in again to see. So if they have a bet range, we'll be having 40% of check raises. But if we actually use their strategy and like bet 75%, but put in a check range some like lower ace x hands or slow plays, that means that their actually c-bet range will be even more bluff heavy than the clear strategy would be like check raising everything. Like 45% of ranges check raising, rest folding. Because they actually, that's just, we see that their check range, they see bet 75 to 80% on the ace xx boards, and their checking range is actually having decent amount of top pair hands. That means they like to check hands like ace 10 on the ace deuce 5. They check ace jack on the ace 5 6, but they will just bluff any bluff they have. So that's indication that on when they check, just remember that when they are, I talk about it in my streams that something my experience has shown. When they check behind ace xx as a tributor, and I know they heavily overbluff these spots, they always have some medium strength hand, and you want with your value. When you have a value hand, you immediately want to overbet turn and shove river because they will have this, and they will be really frequently having this like medium strength hand in this spot. And when they c-bet, you want to check raise a bunch because their c-bet range is going to be a lot bluffier than it should be. And on the rest type of boards like king xx, we actually see that they check behind like 37% of the ace high. So some they don't they check behind, so they don't like bluff it always. So in the check behind range, you actually see a lot of weak hands. King xx, queen xx, you see again a lot of weak hands, like checking ace king on a queen 6 8. So definitely checking range on basically all the other boards. Their check range is going to be super weak except these ace xx boards. All the other boards, if they're checking back, just remember from this they're going to be super weak, like queen xx, jack xx two tone, three in a row, 10 high, so lower boards, connected boards. When they check behind, they're full of it. They just always, the pool is always exhibiting strong hands on these boards. They are not playing correct strategy, and that's why their check range is like really poor on across all of these boards except like ace xx. They are only one they have that they protect, and actually their cbet range should be a lot lower frequency, but still they put decent amount of this medium strength hand there. On the other boards they are not doing that. So We just remember wherever whatever board it is, if it's not ace xx, their check range is really bad, and attack it with or bets on the turn with bluffs a lot and shoves a lot on the rivers. They will just not be able to take the hit. Let's see now their when they see bet flop, and they will often see bet flop. Let's see how their checking behind turn range looks like. Just from here, we see again on the flop, 56% of their range is weak. On the turn, 53% of checking back turn is weak. So let's see which type of range, which type of hands they check behind. So we see a lot of middle pairs now checking behind because their range is so wide as a Cibetor on the flop. They're gonna be full of middle pairs, weak top pairs, uh, like weird ace high hands that shouldn't be there. So they will just suddenly bet flop like 5 4 6. Gonna bet with the ace king. The turn was gonna be 9. They're gonna check behind. They're not know what to do with the ace king or ace queen there because generally these hands shouldn't be there at all, and yeah, this is just not going to know how to play it. So we see a lot of ace highs, around like 22% of the ace highs just checking back. We see some trash hands like king queen, a lot of like lower pairs, middle pairs. So generally when they check behind after betting flop in position, they're going to be super weak. 53% range will be super weak, and other things will be mostly hands like a top pair and lower, and a lot of like low pair, middle pair is going to be more than 30% of the range. So like 30% of air, ace high, 30% of middle pair, low pair. So pretty low range, and that range is telling me it just can't hit. It can take the hit, for example, as a stab with orbit on the river. So the turn is check check, and a lot of your hands should be going into the orbit just to try to put pressure on their weak checking behind range on the turn. Also, you need to do a lot of thin overbets because people after you didn't check raise the flop on many boards they will just feel you will not have a lot of strong hands, so you'll need to go thinner for value, but nevertheless you still want to attack this range full of medium hands, full of low hands, and you want to attack that range. Let's now go to the delay. Just we see that they're basically checking range is really bad, and they still delay 46%. That has to be that their delay range is full of it, and actually it is. We see that on the ASXX, um, around like 50 25 across all of these type of ASXX board, but generally all across basically all the boards except three broadways, let's like king queen jack, uh, they're basically because on the king queen they're just gonna bluff everything they have. So when they actually check, they're gonna have like some like weak king x or kind of like a good queen x. So their delay range will always be something, something like we see like over pairs, like slow plate sets. So they will always be strong, but generally across all of the other, they're gonna have a lot of bluffs, like 50% of bluffs. You see that they're bluffing with like turned draws, uh, turn draws, gut shots, even ace highs probably on some scary cards, but generally their delay will be across many boards, especially let's see like this deuce through nine draw. We see like their delay bet, their delay bets. A lot of hands like ace queen, ace king, ace jack. A lot of hands like king queen, so king queen on the deuce 8 6 jack, king jack on the 5 8 6 3. So generally they will be bluffing a lot of with delays. And let's see if they're gonna continue river that much. And the answer is generally not that much that I expected. So that means that a lot of boards, like you see like this deuce through nine drawy, that they had so much bluffs, they're gonna still like this let's see like hands like a queen 10, hands with completely not any showdown value. They will bluff like king 10 on the deuce 5 6 5 3 when the river is like completed flush or turn or river flush. They're just gonna basically try to wrap something in these lines, but generally you see that still it's an indication that they will not even bluff this um, even like the worst hands, because delay bet river is 52% and on across many boards. And again, especially these static boards that didn't change anything, they will not bluff, and they mostly bluff when the rivers got like some overcard, like four of the flush, third of the flush, and like overcard. Generally, when the turn and river didn't change anything, they will leg bluffs. That's like what is key takeaway from this. Pool doesn't bluff in situation as a bet check bet when the river didn't change anything and they uh, check the turn, for example. So that's the spot, and also with delay. If the turn they bet and the river is like complete brick, they will like bluffs. But if the river is like overcard, they will go for bluff with a hand like ace high, like a king high. If the river is like completed a straight or flush, they will try to bluff these lines. And it's really useful to know because in these spots you want to bluff catch, in other spots you don't want to bluff catch. Um, check bet. We see that again all of these boards that are static, they don't bluff with the check that because bluffs will just be put in a c-bet range on the ace xx, king xx, queen xx. They just bluff the flop with it because that's what they do. They c-bet a bunch, 75%. It's hard for them to actually even find the bluffs because all the bluffs are in the c-bet range. So their check bet is actually always, you see, like they're just gonna use this like 3 in a row 10 high when the river will bring something. River bring like here the the term bring the king, or there it's like 3 4 and the 8 7 9. Let's just let me okay. Okay, now you better see. So now the 10 got there, so now it's four of the straight, and suddenly on the river they try to rep straight. But generally, this is the spots the pool is bluffing. So when nothing is changing, they're not bluffing. When something like something that they can like use like a scary card, they will try to bluff in these lines. But you need to know that this is the spots they will bluff, and just correct your strategy and just bluff catch them more in this situation. Let's check now bet check bet in a three better. So now we see that he's their three bet range. We see their three bet range. We know that their c-bet frequency is way absurdly high in all of the spots, and that will indicate that on the turn they will get to a like a massive amount of range that is betting the flop, and suddenly a lot of these hands are not natural to bluff again or bet again. Some like of these like queens, kings, jacks, and the ace xx. Now they start to check it. Now there's like all of this middle strand hand that doesn't have sense. That they're not natural double barrels. Some bluffs that doesn't fit anywhere, and then the problem comes with they will not know what to do on the turn. And then we go to this bet check bet line, which I think it's important just to see how much they will actually bluff with the bet check bet line. And actually we see that their bluffing starts with like low pairs like 4 6, that's 10 15 20, around 30% across all the boards is bet check bet lines. And from what we see, king xx 20, queen xx 28, jack xx 19, ace broadway x 20, ace broadway x rainbow 27, 41 ace low connected. uh, so generally, from what we can take away here is monotone boards, most bluffs, monotone ace x, monotone king to jack is the most one, but generally they're like bet check bet has bluffs, but it's not like hugely over bluffed. So that indicates that they are willing to go with bet check bet and check behind the hand that will never gonna win a showdown, um, because uh, they would need to have a lot more than 36% as a bet check bet because how wide the range is, uh, that they have like a lot of bluffs in and they don't have. So that's telling us that they will just check behind even in position a hand that will never gonna be good in showdown. Okay, now we see this is c-bet and fall to check raise 36%. Uh, it's not too much. 36%, I think it's decent. 39, c-bet and fold to check raise on the turn. 39, and people actually are really value heavy in the check, because this is mostly check shove, and I would say that pool is overcalling check shove because this is really really value heavy, and they are overcalling it. So the pool will, for example, when they bet ace xx and they double barrel with hand like ace queen, and and they get jammed on, they will be never folding hand like ace queen or ace king. And generally, when you're just in that spot, they're just really really value heavy, as a check raise check shove turn on the interbet pot. It's super value heavy line, and the pool will not generally fold this type of hands on these turns. Fold to river is also like really low compared how like super super strong. Uh, so Sibit and fold to check raise on river is 36. So they like bet river, and you jam, and they will still be calling a lot. Uh, that's indication that they will not be like falling like a top pair good kicker to jam. No matter what you rep or what you do, they were just not going to be folding it. And generally when they call check raise, fold turn is on the lower side. 34 on the river they can fold like 50, but look at this call turn check raise, for example, even when like it's like deeper, they call turn check raise, they still fold on they fold turn to raise 39%, which is super value heavy, and still on the river they are calling like over 60% of that. So that's indication that they will be sticky in these situations. uh, for example, let's say on a King XX board, from my experience, when I jammed in this situation, turn or right check raise the turn and shove river, on a King XX, if they have a King Queen, they'll never fold it. It's just the pool. I'm talking about the pool. You have the individuals, the nittier players, the better players that are aware of this, that they're going to fold. But pool and pool, it shows us they're not going to be folding that much. And just an average pool player you met is going to play approximately to this. And that's why I'm saying to you this situation where you want to maybe avoid bluffing, and in which situation you want to increase your bluffing frequencies. Pool doesn't fall to donk. 27% is a fall to donk, and actually, as in position, when out of position is donking, now you actually see that you shouldn't be donking at all, because if generally you want to donk in a situation where your range is really really strong and you're expecting that in position player is aware of that. For example, we have a perfect example here. The board is 4 6 7 two-tone. I would expect that people check range, but people are not checking range, people will bet range. But if they bet range, there is no incentive for you to ever donk, because you're going to face a bet and you can put a check raise. And with donking, you see, it's much better when they bet and you check raise with your set than you donk and keep a pot small. You're only donking to uh, stop them from checking back. If they're betting everything, why would you ever donk? You don't want to ever be donking. Um, okay. And basically, we see that they don't fall to donk. Um, they don't even fall much on donk on the turn. On the river, it's a little more folding. Um, and we want to also now see what is what we can take from here. Basically, um, we see that they're raising against donks will generally be a lot of weak hands, because they will perceive donk as a weak play. Generally, people here will not understand range versus range interaction. So when the good reg will actually, for example, the good reg will donk on the 4 6 7 if he is expecting that the imposition player knows the strategy and knows the GTO, but the pool will just, they will not care if they see a donk on the 4 6 7 and they have a pocket kings or aces. They're just gonna raise it. That's how they play. That's by my experience, even with against the players that I thought, for example, on the team stat name they are winning, I go donk 4 6 7. I know if he's good, he's just gonna check range there, and they just raise pocket queens, and I get it in with set. I donk, they raise, and they raise like really big with aces. For whatever reason, they're doing that. Aces never want to raise, and they just raise with aces and getting it in. So their raising uh, of these donks will gonna be weak, but if you actually know they're gonna be just betting it, there's just no way. There's no need for you to even have a donking range at the first place. Let's check now also some interesting things like how the pool plays when they three bet in position and the flush hits. When the flush hits on the river, we see that their like triple barrel is really lacking bluffs, and we see that over 80% is actually uh, top pair and better, and most is going to be top pair, top kicker, and better. Uh, when flush misses, their triple barrel is 57%, which is more than normal, 57%. And you see, like again on the static boards, their triple barrel is quite heavily, heavily, really heavy, especially on the ace-xx boards. We see like triple barrels on the ace-xx boards, uh, lacking bluffs, on the Queen XX, really lacking bluff, Jack XX, triple barrel, lacking bluffs, King XX, 29% is weak, still lacking bluffs. Even the pool will sometimes bluff, let's say hands like Ace X, Ace Jack, Ace Queen on like these King XX boards, Ace Jack and Ace Queen, pretty common bluffs. So they will use it occasionally, but generally it's still underbluffed. And again, we see that the most of bluffing is happening like monotone when the like fourth flush is got there. Um, then this like drawy boards when the some type of scary card hits like completion of straight. Like these lower boards when the river is king or queen. Generally, they will just use this like scary cards. Like it's what I was talking about before. So basically, nothing will change even there. Um, so when flush actually misses, we're gonna go here. We see that generally their triple barrel is gonna be still value heavy, and when flush hits, the difference is not as much because still even more. Just remember they will when the flush hits on the river, they will still underbluff these spots for. Um, they'll just be underbluffing it. That's like key takeaway from there. Um, and basically that's it for today. Uh, I wanted to show you this because it's really a big deal. It's a massive exploit you want to be using on your pools because mm, every pool from like NL 500 to NL 5 or NL 2, it's gonna be having problems with over betting as tributers in position. Most of them are not aware of the range versus range interaction, and I just show you like to like two biggest examples of what are they doing, but generally on a lot of boards that will be happening. On a lot of ace xx boards, it's not actually high cbet frequency. It's mostly high cbet frequency will be on the ace Broadway X, on the two Broadways, because your range advantage is then and nuts advantage is really big, and you're just utilizing that with like really high cbet frequency. But generally across ace xx, which is middle connected, you're gonna just want to protect your range. You see that we're checking a bunch of ace queens. Actually, ace queen will prefer checking this situation, and ace king going to check also a decent amount of the time. So just remember that. Remember that on the lower boards, especially connected one, you basically want to play it as a low cbet frequency checking range on like two tone, on like deuce 3 4 3 4 5 4 6 7. All these type board we want to just protect your range from just by checking it behind and playing it from the turn. Um, and people play completely different. They bet we saw like 70% plus across all of these boards, and I showed you what is the max exploit strategy. That's like the maximal you can exploit them is by playing that strategy that I showed you. It's going to be super good for you. Their check range is weak on the flop, their check range on the turn is weak. You want to exploit that by using a big steps as an overbet on the turn. You know you're going to be capped. You know they're going to be capped. Every board except Ace XX didn't have a lot of top pairs in. On the Ace XX, they actually, which is like somehow like unintuitive, but they're we show that pool is doing that. So just remember on that like Ace XX actually they will have top pairs in a checking range, but across all the other runouts, they're gonna lack top pairs and they will be like really weak. So when they check behind flop, attack with stabbing or betting the turn, or just check and go with the check raise because their delay bet's gonna be really high. That indicates that all of these mid-strength hands will now go into the delay c bet, and you can just also take it with check raising on the turn, or you can just using a big overbet steps and shoving the rivers. When they check behind turn, you're gonna have a really profitable uh, big jam like jam on the river. When they check behind turn, we saw that their checking range on the turn is really weak. And when they check check bet, uh, they're gonna have like bluffs in the 30% ish type, which is, I mean, it's still decent amount of the time. You see, like their low pair and worse is like over 30%, so they will be bluffing it. They will be also value betting with now like hands like middle pairs. So it's actually a decent spot to go for some tricky check raises on the river, and definitely you can mix what you want to do based on the player that you're playing and the board that is what you need to, like the board structure, what you can expect. Will you expect a lot of bet check bet? Because what we saw that they will mostly bluff when the turn when the river is like a over card, scary card, competition of straight or flushes, or like on monotone like a fourth flush. So definitely that is where when you can expect this bet check bet line frequently, and then maybe you can have some when you know that this is a spot they will overbluff. Maybe you can just put a lot of traps in that spot because you know they're gonna bluff these lines, um, and try to exploit them with like trapping them in the right spots where they will have like decent um, bluff frequencies. Uh, and the last thing from that I didn't talk about is this like skip civet and fold, which is 54%. So that indicates when they are checking behind the turn, which the range is like really weak, they will be folding 54%. And basically we see that like middle pairs, lower pairs, all of these hands, and it's gonna be folding most of the times, but we see rarely they're gonna fold top pair or better. So it's crucial in this situation to just identify the spots where they will always bet with top pairs, because then you're basically eliminating the hands that will always call you, and you're going to be facing the range that is going to be significantly weaker. So we see again, you can identify that by just going to the checking behind turn range, where you actually see that they in general are lacking these top pair plus hands. So it's like only like 15% top pair plus hands that's going to check behind, and majority of that will be like really strong hands like a full houses that check behind, uh, and like ugly run out like a third flush with the top pairs. But like on the run out where you know that all top pairs going to double barrel. For example, it's king four five, king four five, and the turn is a deuce. All of the hands that really bet the flop is going to really bet the turn. And when they check behind that spot, that is the opportunity for super good bluff, super profitable bluff. Because in these lines, they will actually be now lacking these top pairs, which will often go into the double barrel range, or it's going to be same. It's like Queen XX or Ace XX. Because in this situation, they will not be checking behind. Like, for example, Jack XX flop was like Jack 9 deuce. They bet the flop. The turn is 3 and they check behind. That's immediately capping themselves not to a top pair. The top pair wants to double barrel, and this is like situation where it's going to be super profitable for you to step the reverse. But if the board is like Queen 7 4 and the turn is like 9 and the third flush, there they will have a lot of top pairs checking in that line. So your bluff in this situation would be far less profitable than in other situations where you know their checking behind range will be a lot weaker. So that's the things you need to take away from here. Which are the spots that we want to bluff? Which are the spots they over bluff? In which spots they have complete wrong strategy, and just take that into your advantage. We're going like almost an hour. We're I really wanted to go deep in this because I just know from this you can just have massive value, because if you can exploit them this hard, and you should be because they are just playing terrible strategy in these spots, you can just have massive amount of EV created just because they played completely wrong strategy. And if you actually play a lot of S calls, not check raising these spots, you're actually going into their way because their strategy will be now profitable against your strategy. You see, you're not punishing them at all. And by playing like this, you're punishing them the most, and they will just be aware. Why is this guy always check raising me on this board? What is happening? They will be just so they will be just fed up with that because, and they will just have to change their strategy to be able to do anything. And to know to change their strategy, they will have to at least have some knowledge about the GTO. They will need to go to solver, see, okay, what I'm doing wrong here, and how can I correct that? And people are not doing that because if they are, they wouldn't be betting range on the spot where you need to check range. So definitely there's a lot of room to exploit, a lot of room to make them hate their life in this situation, because playing like that will be just a nightmare for them, and you should be doing it because they are playing completely the wrong way. I hope guys you like this video. I like that you like this concept. We also mixed in some pyro in it, and there you can just have the view in the GTO world, and we can also use this node lock just to see what is the best strategy that counters their strategy. And yep, we still have a lot of things that we can do in future. In this we have a lot of pop-ups that we didn't cover, a lot of boards and positions that we can do. So if you like this concept, give a thumbs up, leave a comment. I would definitely appreciate it, and I would see if it's the way we want to continue with this series. And yeah, we're gonna see you next time. Next time will be some playing video, or maybe like a hand analysis, or like that dynamics on the table that I talked about. So whatever you think that you would like to see next, give your opinion in a comment. I always try to answer all of you guys. And once more, I am asking you to join my Discord. I'm gonna add the Discord into the description of the video. Today we also had a big learning study in Pio through Skype. There was 24 of us that were learning, going through boards and talking about strategies, about the exploit, about anything. So you're free to join. You're free to be with us in our little community, which I'm actually really glad that we have really a lot of great players and mid-stakes crushers and some high-stakes players. So definitely a good community to join in. And yes, I'm looking forward to see you all. See you soon and bye.